I'm a firm believer that you can have a great show about 20-somethings so long as all of them have had some form of insane life experience. That's it. That's my intro. Hey, I'm Amanda, you're watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are talking about the secret lives of Mormon wives, #MomTok. I'm probably gonna have to say the words MomTok quite a lot, and I don't know why, but watching the show, every time they said it, it irked me so fully, I had to fight the urge to turn the show off. I don't know why exactly. It just feels like a ridiculous sentence. My mic is going to be all over the place because I have nothing that'll put it at a reasonable level. So I'm like, William's going to kill me. We're just going to call this show Mormon Wives to save time. Basically, this show just came out on Hulu, and the reason I'm talking about it in particular is that this is two of my favorite things, okay? Social media people and then reality TV being messy. Somehow they managed to do what the Hype House TV show couldn't do. Give me entertaining television. But really quick, let me tell you about the sponsor for today's video, Thrive Market. Thrive Market is an online membership-based grocery store with great high-quality products delivered straight to your door with savings on every order. Their goal is to make healthy living easy and affordable for everyone. Because of the content I make, I go from two very big extremes of traveling a lot or being at my home working constantly. Thrive Market makes it easy for me to get great quality staples and snacks. I ordered this delivery while I was in New York and it came within 2 hours of me getting home. I can guarantee that you're getting the best quality products every time. Orders over $49 ship for free with no additional tipping or fees, and if you find the products that you like at a better price somewhere else, Thrive Market will even match you. This order had 21 items because I was out of quite a few of my pantry staples and I was able to save $36.80. Organic fusilli, best buffed mac and cheese, roasted garlic, carbone pasta sauce, cheddar cracker, Italian wedding soup, sweet fish, chomps, flaxseed cracker, frankly an obscene amount of the root beer poppy. I'm someone who likes to snack while I'm editing and streaming, and so having healthy options like fruit bars or healthy crackers is a great move for me. Go to thrivemarket.com/Swell Entertainment to join Thrive Market today and get 30% off your first order and a free gift worth up to $60. And thank you to Thrive Market for sponsoring this video. I'm not gonna go back into the Hype House, don't worry, but that is another social media-based reality television show that I can draw on that did not perform well, okay, because it was not very entertaining. But what's funny is that the Mormon Wives show is doing way better and also is getting way better attention, I would say. Like, the response is better. Like, I wouldn't say that these people are any more likable than the Hype House people, okay, but they're much better television. And I think that's funny because these people, these women on Mormon Wives, are not much older than most of the Hype House, but they've all been through life experiences like motherhood and getting married, getting divorced, getting involved in a TikTok swinging scandal, okay? And so there's a lot happening here, and that's why I think all of them are much more interesting to hear talk. Formed in the fire of the ashes of social media drama and controversy and swinging, and it's it's so good. This whole show of Mormon Wives is great because none of these women would be friends. Not really, okay? If it weren't for TikTok. At one point, one of the women says, MomTok is like a content house, except we don't live together, or something like that. And that's basically it. Like, it's like the most chaotic forms of a content house, except without any of the insane overhead that usually leads to the downfall, which is also part of what happened with the Hype House. And so this one, they all acknowledge when we're in each other's videos, we get more views. When we post together, we get more views. Our followers go up. This is entirely formed based on clout. They all seem to acknowledge that. But then they hold each other to standards of friendship that are just not conducive to that type of environment, because basically this is all working relationships, which you would think would, okay, we all agree, we all have this form of understanding, but then because of what they're doing in their lives and because of their religion as well, because obviously we're dealing with the Mormon Church at the same time here, there's such a level of animosity towards each other, but then also like self-righteousness. It's fascinating. I love this show. It's insane. I think the name that a lot of people know when it comes to MomTok or Swinger Mormon MomTok or Mormon MomTok is how I knew it. I never knew it as MomTok. And it was basically just a group of women in Utah who were all influencers and all made like dancing videos together. And then back in 2022-ish, one of the women in the group it was announced that they were getting a divorce, okay? And it was Taylor, Frankie, Paul. I'm going to butcher some of this timeline because there is a lot of speculation as to what's true and what's not. Some people have full-on pulled away from the situation. Taylor went on the Vial Files and did a pretty good breakdown, I would say, with some very concerning things about some of her drinking that I think raises more red flags for a lot of the situations, because a lot of the things that she is talking about, she mentions being so drunk she cannot remember the acts that took place. And she's like, I know I would have wanted it though. And I'm like, that doesn't make it okay. But she gives a pretty good timeline in that, while also trying to protect the other people involved as best as she can. She doesn't name names or anything like that. But basically, she was being called a husband stealer, okay? Because the rumor was that she was getting a divorce because she had tried to have an affair or had an affair with another one of the women's husbands that was involved in Mormon MomTok. Then she came out and said, actually, that's not true. We were all swingers. We were all soft swinging. It sounds like soft swinging is just like you were all making out and then hooking up next to each other, but there was no actual like intercourse or anything like that, or like swapping. There was a lot of rules, is my understanding. That seems to be the consistency. One of these nights, she admits to herself that she had been engaging in an emotional affair with one of her friend's husbands. This handful of couples were all involved. They all had the same rules. They all were in agreement, okay? But Taylor and one of the husbands were engaging in like a secret emotional affair. And then one night they did actually sleep together. And that is what led to her divorce, even though she had been wanting one. And she says, as well as a myriad of other divorces. Everyone involved, it sounds like, got a divorce is what it sounds like now, okay? But this all blew up, and then she gets a divorce. TikTok still, she made a bunch of content about like, am I a swinger? Yep. Like making a bunch of like insane videos about this stuff, okay? This sweeps through all of Mormon TikTok. Anyone who would use the phrase MomTok, okay, ever, is somehow being looped in with this swinging scandal. And then that is basically where things come now to 2023 is when I think they started filming. What's interesting about this show is that the first episode seems to have been filmed in 2023. And then the bulk of the current season that we are seeing now, episodes 2 through 8, are being filmed, I think, January through March or May, okay? Because one of the women on the show announces her pregnancy in the final episodes and is currently still pregnant. So it's in this timeline of this year. So basically the whole first episode is taking place sometime in 2023. I don't know the exact timeline, okay? But they cast a good chunk of the women that we now see now. It opens up with Taylor, and it's like her talking with her mom. She has a new boyfriend that she's seeing. She's making content with him. Her mom does not approve because she's still, in the Mormon church, and they're sleeping together and all this other stuff. And Taylor's drinking. Also, she might be pregnant. Okay, there's a lot happening in this first episode. Taylor meets up with Macy, okay, because they haven't spent time in a while, okay? Macy is also, all of these women are TikTokers, apparently. Most of them I've never heard of. The only one I had ever heard of was Taylor, okay? And so we meets up with Macy, and they hear that Whitney is moving back from Hawaii. Apparently, Whitney and her family moved to Hawaii to flee the Mormon MomTok swinging scandal. But basically, my understanding is that no one that's on the show was involved in the swinging. And that seems to be confirmed by Taylor herself, that none of the women that were involved in the show were part of the swinging scandal. Okay, it literally was like 3 people. They were all also in Mormon MomTok, but they are not on the show. Apparently they were asked, they said, we will not do it if Taylor does it. Which I can't blame them, especially if you think that someone blew up your marriage. But I mean, no one here I think is innocent in that situation, is what it sounds like. But they were moving back from Hawaii. And it turns out that everyone was under the impression that Whitney left because of the swinging scandal. However, it turns out that that had nothing to do with why Whitney and her family moved. They left because it was coming out. Let me say what she says. Her husband was talking with women on Tinder. She specifies women on Tinder. Okay. Now, the rumor apparently actually is that he had been allegedly meeting up with men on Grindr. And that's basically the crux of this whole episode. Whitney brings them all together, okay? Admits that this is why she left. And she's like, I put it on Taylor. Like, I put it on the swinging scandal because it was just easier to deal with. And it's like, Taylor's like, well, that's shitty. Valid. That also is shitty because Taylor was being ripped apart for being, a husband stealer. And Whitney used that to her advantage to hide the texting affairs, emotional affairs her husband may have been having. One thing you need to understand about Whitney, this entire show, is that she's kind of, for lack of a better phrase, the worst. I know so many women like Whitney. And I don't like spending time with them because it is emotional vampirism. Like it's eggshells, but then it's just fascinating how she is on this entire show. And she now is making TikToks where she's like, I don't remember it happening like that. Like after the show, and it's like, they can frankenbite all they want, okay? You said a lot of things, you did a lot of things of your own free will that look real weird. We can only blame producing so much at a certain point, okay? But back to the first episode. This is all in the first episode. Taylor then, as Whitney is saying, you know, my husband had been messaging people, okay? Taylor says, I actually have something to tell you all too. And it's because all the women are there. Taylor says, I might be pregnant, but no, it's not good because I probably miscarried or I'm having an ectopic pregnancy. And so there has this whole conversation. And I think it's very telling in this moment that these women are not really friends, or at the very least, they don't know how to deal with someone having a pregnancy out of wedlock, or also the thought of terminating a pregnancy. It's kind of glossed over, the whole situation, because an ectopic pregnancy can never really be carried to term. It will burst a fallopian tube. It could be dangerous to the mother. It's not something that can come to term. And then Whitney is just like, that's kind of shitty that like I'm trying to have this emotional moment and then you have to come and share that you're losing a baby. Like, just insane behavior. But no one hugs Taylor. No one has like any, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, what do you need? Like, are you in pain? Like none of that. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, awful. So then she goes out with Dakota, her boyfriend, okay? Father of her possible child, things like that, okay? And they're going on a date, they're talking about how they met up, all this stuff. And then he is currently sober, apparently. He is formerly overdosed on fentanyl. And she is like, he doesn't like that I drink, but I'm gonna get drunk tonight. And then we cut to the body cam footage of Taylor Frankie Paul's arrest and her getting arrested, and that is the end of the first episode.
I just want to make a quick note about the body cam footage. The full body cam footage and arrest, I believe, is available online. I believe TMZ released it when it came out. Taylor was arrested for domestic violence. She was very intoxicated. Dakota was sober. So there is some speculation online as to what may have happened before the police came and before her neighbor called. Just wanted to make the note because I know it will come up.
And you guys are going to not understand what I'm about to say, but this whole situation is how I know Whitney is not the queen bee that she thinks she is, okay? I don't know if you guys are caught up to your Real Housewives of New Jersey lore, okay? But Teresa Giudice went to prison, and they found out how to film around her going to prison, so they didn't have to do a season without her, okay? That's how integral Teresa was to the Real Housewives of New Jersey at the time. Taylor got arrested, started going through parole. She herself admits, they distanced from me immediately. They stopped filming with me. They re-held casting for the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And then they realized I was doing okay, and so they brought me back. However, it's months later. Like I said, they didn't film the rest of the season until sometime this year, but they basically halted filming, or they got nothing of value, because unless they did some crazy editing, none of that stuff that was filmed while Taylor was like going through most of her probation or anything, because it was a decent amount of time that she ended up getting probation for. But whatever was filmed in that time, if anything had been filmed in that time, was not used to try and round out the show. And then it's like, yeah, Taylor's, probation is ending. Maybe she can come back and hang out with us again. No, so much time passes that Taylor not only gets out of jail, gets pregnant again, and is now at least 8 months pregnant at the time of the rest of the season being filmed. A good amount of time has passed, so they either fully abandoned what they had been filming, or they filmed and got nothing of value, and then they wait, and then once Taylor came back, it's like, oh yes, this whole show would not be what it is without Taylor. That is how I know that Whitney is not the queen bee that she... MomTok would be nothing without me. That's not... No. Sorry. Let me just go through all of the women so we have their names. So obviously we have Taylor Frankie Paul, okay, Whitney Leavitt, Macy Neely, Michaela Matthews, Demi Enjamin, Jennifer Affleck, loosely related to Ben Affleck, apparently, second cousin, Layla Taylor, and Jessie Natakura. Most of the women have their own storylines for at least one episode or go through various things, but obviously Taylor's pregnant and she is with Dakota, but Dakota really wants to get married. Taylor does not want to get married and does not want to feel like she's being forced into getting married again, but she also doesn't want to be fully raising a baby and her 2 children alone. It sounds like she just doesn't want to be the one to end things. And so she's kind of trying to get him to, like, if you don't like it, leave. Like, she's trying to get him to walk out the entire time. Whitney, who her whole storyline is delusion. No, we need to bring MomTok back to what it was. We need to, figure out what we stand for, which is revitalizing, the New Age Mormon church, but also being awful at some point to every single woman in this group, including specifically Taylor, where she has a lot of issues with Taylor, but will not have a conversation with Taylor about these issues. So Taylor thinks they're friends. They're just not talking for whatever reason. Meanwhile, Whitney has had these whole conversations with herself and is like, I didn't think that you would not need to know or anything like that. It's truly baffling and insane. The whole thing, it's like, I am the queen bee. I want to be the queen bee. The other girls mention it. They realize it. It's so funny the way that they talk about everything, because it's like, all of these women are the breadwinners of their families because of social media, but then they're barely showing them filming. They once an episode, because it's, MomTok, this is based around social media. They basically all have to film a TikTok together at least once an episode, which is so funny because it's like, oh, let's get you guys on camera doing a TikTok. It's literally once an episode. It's so funny. And it's usually, it's a dance and things like that. But it's funny because you can go back now and check when they filmed what. So they filmed a pretty big birthday trip thing for Macy, and they're all wearing these matching sweatsuits, and it's still, I think, pinned on Whitney's page. But what's so funny is I don't think she tagged any of the girls, which is just really funny to me, because it's like, oh yes, we're all in each other's videos, but who is who? It's so funny. And Taylor was visibly pregnant in that, so I think that's why it's earlier this year. Macy is trying to be a mediator, I would say, through this entire show, especially between Taylor and Whitney. She is friends with both of them. So she's trying to be the mediator. Macy's storyline is that she's trying to pivot her social media business into a supplement line for prenatal vitamins, or natal vitamins, basically. And also she does not trust Dakota. She has seen how Dakota has spoken to Taylor about certain things, and she doesn't think that they should be together whether she's having his baby or not. For Taylor, she does the Sinner Sunday thing on Instagram where people send in anonymous confessions, and one of them says that this person hooked up with Dakota before she knew that Taylor and him were dating. Big issue of Taylor and Dakota's relationship as to why she won't marry him is that there's some speculation, some gray area at the start of when they got together about whether or not he hooked up with someone that they both knew when he told her that they hadn't slept together. And so that is the basically where Taylor's openly said, if I found out that he hooked up with her, I would end things immediately. He'd be dead to me. And so again, I feel like she just doesn't want to marry him. And so she's looking for instances, ways to get out, which it's interesting because I just didn't like this guy. Oh, hey, I have my boxes here. Oh, your parents are here? You just told them that I'm moving in right now? It's a very animated form of talking, which is fine and very known for social media. It's he's talking in a social media story, but in real life. Basically, once an episode, they have apparently a big blowout fight, whether on camera or off, it's mentioned. And basically, they shouldn't be together. They're still together currently, it seems, but the whole season ends with Taylor giving birth and Macy calling this Jenna person and being like, hey, I wanted to talk about your relationship with Dakota, and Jenna going on the phone, I'll answer any question you have. End of the show. That alone, I need 8 more seasons. Demi is divorced herself and got remarried. She is now 30, now married to someone who is 46, Brett Engelman, former quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. The thing about Demi that got Whitney so fired up is that her husband is attracted to her, because there was an instance at Demi's Galentine's Day party that was supposed to celebrate friendship and love or whatever, and Whitney thought it would be a really good time to bring a gift that was a joke about an intimate story shared with them about an act that she had done being intimate with her husband, to probably just be oh yeah, it's fun to role play and have kinky sex or whatever, to have a conversation with your girlfriends. And Whitney thought it would be a really good idea on Galentine's Day to make a reference to that and bring her a box of Fruity Pebbles. I'm not going into detail. You have to just watch because the way that they discuss this is so dark-sided. Like, do you guys have real friends? Like, this whole thing, it's so bad. So Whitney brings her this box of like Fruity Pebbles, okay, to reference the story that Demi clearly told them in confidence, like while they were all having girl time or whatever on a brand trip. In fact, because everything has to do goes back to TikTok. It's so funny. Demi is clearly so bothered because she's like, oh my gosh, it's so sweet that you brought me a gift. And then she's like, are you kidding me right now? And like immediately is upset. And Whitney has the audacity to be, I'm fucking pissed off now. She is now mad that Demi is bothered that she threw a story that she shared of an intimate moment with her husband back in her face. Please talk to a therapist. Like, are you kidding me? And it's like, it's now a whole issue where it's like, well, she's mad too now. It's like, are you kidding me? Who are you? What is, it's so insane. You made the choice to do that, and now you have to deal with the consequences of your host being mad at you, because that's insane. Demi also says that she's like a 9 out of 10 on the Mormon scale. There seems to be a discussion over like the Mormons' level of like devoutness throughout this. There's literally the sinners and saints involved in this show is like literally how they refer to it as. The saints, the sinners, I should say, are Demi, Layla, Jesse, and Taylor. And then the others are all the saints. And basically it's just because like some of them drink sometimes, some of them are divorced. Divorce seems to be the big thing because that seems to be the main issue with Demi and Jen. That seems to be the issue. Same with Taylor, is that the divorce thing seems to be the problem. Layla is also divorced and currently single. It sounds like that's the main issue, but no one wants to really say that that's the issue. They say it's like the drinking and things like that, which like obviously Taylor isn't drinking, she's pregnant. She is pregnant out of wedlock, which seems to be the other issue. So again, there's various other like Mormon sensibilities being worked into the conversation and thrown about throughout this. Oh my god, I skipped over something for Whitney. I have to tell you about this. So I had seen a video from Whitney prior to this show. I had not realized that it was her because again, I don't think about her. Whitney made a video in the hospital with her newborn baby while he had been intubated, or what looks to be intubated, and had been diagnosed with RSV, of her making a dance video while her child is in the NICU, and posted this to TikTok. She explains, I wanted to make a fun video because he was getting better and I just wanted to update people. And I hear about that all the time. I get backlash. She tries to say that this is the issue. She has an issue with Taylor. Taylor got forgiveness for like blowing up people's lives and the swinging MomTok and all of that. But Whitney still has to respond to comments about the RSV video all the time. And Taylor's like, I get vitriol every day. What are you talking about? I wish Taylor would say that straight to her face. She says it more in the moments, which is the interview sections. But, you know, it is what it is. I don't think that's what it is at all with Whitney. I think Whitney wants to be the most famous one. She wants to be the leader. And Taylor just kind of is naturally the leader. It's interesting because I do think that though Taylor has a lot of insecurities and like things that she clearly needs to work on, she is more self-assured in a lot of ways than Whitney is, where Whitney is trying to project being self-assured, and I think that's why Taylor naturally gravitates towards the front more when Whitney is trying to fight towards the front more. Does that make sense? I see this all the time in social media people, where if you're more confident as an individual, you are just much more confident in your existence and your place on social media. But then if you are an insecure person, you will constantly be dealing with the blinding light of attention on you, and you'll never be able to work through those issues. And it just seems like there's a lot of that happening here, but like in various levels and stages. It's fascinating.
I should also note, even the other women, they say you're either team Taylor or you're team Whitney. But I don't think that there's even teams happening. I do just think it's all Whitney, and Taylor's like, I'm growing a baby with a man that I don't trust. Like, I think that's basically the issue here. Like Taylor doesn't seem to be fighting for MomTok the way that Whitney seems to be doing it. Taylor just kind of exists and makes content on occasion. That's kind of it. Or at least that's what it was during filming.
Next, we have Jen. Jen is one of the saints. Jen's storyline is really a bummer and sad, and I don't know how to go about this in a tentative way, because her husband is seemingly probably what you think of when you think of like a Mormon husband in a sense, but looking like a TikTok bro. You know, like he has that look, but he follows a lot of the Mormon rhetoric to a T, including he would love his wife. It seems to follow his every whim, allegedly, but all these people seem litigious. Meanwhile, Jen is 25, a mother of 2, and is the breadwinner and is putting him through medical school. And he apparently has a gambling problem to the point that she gives him like $2,500 when they go to Vegas, like on a girls trip that him and Dakota go with, because Zach wants to keep an eye on Jen. Dakota wants to be there in case Taylor goes into labor, which I get, but it's also like very controlling, and all the other women are like, it's giving controlling. So, which is interesting because all the other women's husbands seem to not have an issue with their relationships, their status, or like letting their wives go and do things or make the money and things like that. They're all the breadwinners of their family because of social media. And that's the thing that I think was kind of glossed over a lot, is they all say like, we're making a business, we're doing this. And it's like, I feel like they probably could have framed it better in editing of like just how much money these women are making and like what actually is on the stake with MomTok. Because when they mention MomTok, it almost sounds like this proverbial like fictitious thing that's like, it is the next Mormon church for them. The core tenets of MomTok and things like that. It's like, what is this, a Girl Scout meeting? Like, there's a lot of things kind of thrown about to make everything seem bigger than it is, but it's not fleshed out with the reality of how big the situation is. So it feels very fantastical and whimsical in a way that doesn't make sense, really. It makes for good television, but like, there is a lot of money on it for a lot of these women. And I don't know if that was exactly explained properly. Like, it is a little bit when you hear she's putting him through medical school, that's a lot of goddamn money. But also with Jen, she is very religious, makes multiple comments about wearing her garments and things like that, is low-key upset but trying not to seem upset when she forgot her garments on a girls trip, and then like it's kind of made a big deal about. I feel like she was like like trying to make jokes about it, but you can kind of tell like it did jar her a little bit that she had forgotten her garments. Basically, they go to Vegas to celebrate Layla. Layla is divorced, and for her birthday, Jesse was like, I'm gonna bring all of you, like, let's all go to Vegas. Layla's never been to Vegas. Most of the girls haven't. They all go to Vegas, and Jesse surprises all the girls by bringing them all to Chippendales, okay? And they got the VIP experience, and they got to go and meet the guys, and Layla's like rubbing up the oil on them and all this stuff, and Jen is petrified. And Jessie herself, I don't know, I go back and forth with this because like I think about like Jessie meant to do it as a fun thing, but she also acknowledges that the husbands would be mad at her, Jessie, but I don't think she really thought about how this would affect the women's possible relationships. And it's like, if I have a friend who I know has a husband that at the very least is like fairly controlling, I probably just wouldn't do this. I would at least not spring it on them so they could at least like slowly ease their husband into it. I don't know. I also would just tell them to get a divorce, but that's me. I'm also not in the Mormon church. Basically, Jen didn't do anything though. She is quite literally saying like, Zach's gonna be so upset. She's frozen. She has her hands like trapped at her side. Again, if these women were actually friends, I would at least be like, hey, let's go take a step outside. Like, hey, are you good? Like, let's take a moment. She's clearly trying to fight off a panic attack or something in this moment, and it's just true. And like, it's like, oh, it's fun, it's not a big deal. And it's like, yeah, to you know? And it's like, that's something that I feel like if all of these women were actually friends, like you would know. Forget even, yes, the red flag of the controlling husband. Like, Jen clearly is not comfortable with this. Like, forget, and it's framed very much like, oh, it's all because of Zach. But she at the very least is clearly very uncomfortable with this. And I feel like that's kind of being mushed together, which like she has every right to have those sensibilities, you know, as someone who is devout. Like, she has every right to have that. Some people have different tolerances for different things. That is fine. The red flags I have the issues with are what her husband then says, because she admits to him what happened. Me and Taylor left, and one of the other women leaves. I think it's Michaela leaves with them as well. Zach is literally like asking for a divorce. I'm gonna take the kids, I'm gonna go back to my parents' house. There's a point in time where like they think Jen is missing because she like immediately goes, he's like, here's where I am, you have to come here immediately or we're done. Like, she leaves at 2 a.m. in Vegas. None of these women are like, I'm gonna go with you. Like, I'm sorry. I'm putting how I would act in situations onto these women, and that's not fair. They straight up were just like, she's not answering anybody, and no one's heard from her since 2 a.m. Nothing happened. Jen is fine. They didn't end up talking. She does end up texting them, and then she comes to dinner, and they basically just talked through everything, and everything is fine, but also it's not fine because it doesn't ever seem like it really was fine, and everyone seems to have an issue with it. And all of the women make the same comment where it's like, once he said, I will take the children from you, I don't love you anymore, things like that. She will never forget hearing that. And this is why I don't like the emotional manipulation. I don't like any of it. It sucks. I hate it. It's all awful. It's all bad, okay? Because the thing she keeps saying is, no one has ever loved me as much as he loves me. It's like, girl, you're 25. And also, is he telling you that? Like, is he telling you that no one will love you as much as I love you? Because she says it multiple times. And it's like, he's also your husband. Of course, you would assume that, like, your husband loves you. And that one of the reasons you married him is that you love him so much and he loves you so much. But like, oh, no one has ever loved me as much as he loves me. It makes me so upset. Like, I hope you're happy. I also pray you have the strength to leave him. Whitney is having like one-sided arguments with everyone. And then at Macy's birthday trip, there's all this like drama where like they do a truth box or something and everyone puts in questions and stuff and they start talking. That's when the RSV thing comes up.
Side note, a TikToker realized that all the girls got different color cards and Whitney got blue cards. Someone with the more, risque questions were blue cards. So I not saying that Whitney wrote questions to herself, but it sounds like she may have.
That's when it comes up that Demi called Taylor white trash because of everything before the arrest. Demi also said that Jen was too Mormon or something. Like, there's been a lot of up and down with things like that. That night trails back to a lot of things. Taylor and Whitney seem to have a conversation, and it basically just boils down to, we weren't actually friends. Like, I feel like I've done a lot for you and you haven't done anything for me. And that all comes down to, like, Taylor has her baby shower, invites all the women. Whitney doesn't come and doesn't say anything. And then it's like, yeah, we're just not friends, so I don't know why she invited me. I don't know why I would go. It's like, what? Things like that keep happening, and then Whitney would, like, just keep throwing barbs out there, and then, or, like, bringing things up that other people told her, and then when it was, like, brought back and she was, like, put to task over it, she would just start crying and, like, walk away. And so at a certain point, I can't remember what exactly was the tipping point, but there was another issue where, like, everyone leaves, and Whitney just left their group chat, like, removes herself from the group chat, the MomTok group chat, and then unfollows everyone on social media like a little bit later without talking to any of them. And so everyone's messaging Macy or calling Macy, being like, what's going on with her? And then Whitney's like, none of them called me. They're all bad friends. When the Vegas thing is happening, this was diabolical, by the way, Whitney. If you see this, this was diabolical. Someone tells Whitney's husband, because Whitney stops filming with all the women. You are not Danielle Staub, okay? For those who don't know, this is another New Jersey reference. Danielle Staub was on the first 2-3 seasons, okay, of Real Housewives of New Jersey. All the other cast members wanted to stop filming with her, okay? And so she just kept the storyline going for herself and made content basically to keep her on the show when everyone else refused to film with her. So she like would find a way to make herself entertaining, even though she couldn't film with the other women, which is usually when that starts happening, that's when they start icing you out and you lose your spot. Danielle Staub was able to do that for a little bit. She was enough, but fun to watch, but she wasn't trying to like pull it all together in the way that Whitney is, which isn't good television, okay? So Whitney just decides that she's not going to film with anyone anymore, or at least not engage with these women anymore, and it doesn't work at all. But so Whitney's husband finds out about everything happening with Jen and Zach in Vegas, and he is explaining it to Whitney, and Whitney just goes, well, he's not wrong. She went there, and she's not a good friend. So, like, diabolical. He is explaining to you that your friend, her husband is threatening divorce over walking into a building where there happen to be shirtless men and then leaving, and you think he's not wrong because she's a bad friend. Like, absolutely diabolical behavior. They start talking about homesteading and like all the work that's going to go into homesteading, which why they want to homestead. I don't know. I think it's so they can turn off the Wi-Fi so we can't connect to Tinder. I don't know. One of her final scenes of the episode is her sharing to her family that she's pregnant because she put the used pregnancy test in the cake and then had her mom cut the cake. She says the cap's on it. It's like, no, her sister's right. There's residue. That's disgusting. We're not eating that now. We're just not. That's disgusting. Congrats. We're not eating the cake. We're not doing it. And then now she's pregnant. So that was, again, within the last 7-8 months, they probably filmed that. Taylor gives birth. And then the episode ends with Macy calling Jenna. Fantastic show. I skipped over a lot of stuff because I do want you to watch this because I need you to watch it so that I can get another 8 seasons of this show. Does this make me want to follow any of these women on TikTok? No. I will accept another 80 seasons of this show though, because you guys are great television. Did you watch The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives? What did you know about Swinging Mormon Mom Talk before this? Are there any other groups of social media that you think should have their own Hulu show? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder, I stream on Twitch. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder to use code SWELL for 10% off on gamer subs. Shout out to my channel members. If you would like to join the channel memberships, you can join down below. If you'd like to follow me on social media, that'll be all up here. Ow. And that'll be it. Have a lovely day. Goodbye. Also, there's a whole part in one of the episodes where the girls, some of them go to get Botox, and instead of just like numbing cream or lidocaine or anything like that, they use laughing gas. My injector doesn't offer that. What the heck? Thank you, Adira, Amy, Andrew, Ayana, Cameron, Donnie, Elliot, Freya, Jeffrey, Jenny, Literal, Mae West, Michael, Nathan, Oz, Palace, Qwerty, Robert, Tasha, Tenzin, Thomas, Timothy, Winters, Wink.